Elliot Cadeau is rated as the number 2 point guard in the country coming out of high school, and he's currently starting at point guard for North Carolina as a true freshman. And I think he's a really good player, but I also think he has some major deficiencies that are going to hold him back from his full potential. So today in Elliot Cadeau's breakdown, we're going to talk about the great parts of his game that you guys can learn from, and then we're also going to keep it real about some of his negatives that I think a lot of you guys can learn from as well. But to start with, let's keep everything in context about what Elliot Cadeau is and what Elliot Cadeau is projected to be. Like I mentioned before, Cadeau was ranked as the number 2 point guard in the country coming out of his class. Now, he did reclassify up a year, but I want to get something clear that I see a lot of confusion on the internet. Elliot Cadeau is actually 19 years old, which means he actually reclassed to his original class. Cadeau is also listed at 6'1", 180 pounds. Like I said, there are a lot of positives to his game. There are some things that left to be desired from what is considered one of the top point guards in the country, especially when you consider high school rankings are supposed to be projections to how they would translate to the NBA and their specific NBA draft class. Now, I promise that this video is not going to be an Elliot Cadeau hate fest. We're actually going to go over some of his positives that he does better than maybe anybody in the country. But we are going to keep it all the way real with what his major deficiency is, and I think that his major deficiency are going to overwhelmingly outweigh his positives, especially when we're talking about moving forward as an NBA prospect. These things will also help you guys watching as a player. There are certain things as a basketball player, and especially as a small, undersized guard, like I know a lot of you are, and I was, that you just cannot hide behind when it comes to being a true good basketball player. Because as we're going to go over later in this video, your major deficiencies will actually begin to hinder and affect your teammates. But first, let's go over Elliot Cadeau's main asset, which is his passing. And as I mentioned before, you guys are going to be able to learn a lot from his ability to pass the ball, and how to do it in simple and effective ways. So where Cadeau gets a lot of his easy money assists are in transition. He's extremely good at the moment he catches the ball looking up the floor and hitting his man without hesitation if someone's open. This is also super necessary in North Carolina's up-tempo offense, and he's probably the best at doing this since Kendall Marshall was there. If you're a point guard and want to get better, go watch Kendall Marshall highlights. But for you point guards out there that are wanting to get easier buckets for your team, try looking up in transition. One of the rules that I tell all my players is immediately when you catch the ball, get your chin to the rim. Also, getting out early in transition means you don't have to go against a set defense, which will lead to easier buckets for you and your teammates. Don't be a selfish passer and only pass when you think it's going to result in an immediate assist. Pass when you see an open man. Simple. And I think Cadeau is literally the best in the nation at this. Now, obviously, Cadeau is a great half-court passer as well. He does this by keeping it simple and looking for space, and if there's space, you pass. Now, when you're looking for space as a passer, it typically means someone helps, which is exactly why that cross-court pass to RJ Davis was wide open. On this play right here, this one is way more subtle, but Cadeau is also really good at using his eyes to hold defenders. So you're going to see right here that Cadeau's vision is going to hold this help defender right in his place, and then he's going to get a quick kick out to Harrison Ingram for a wide open three. Again, a very simple pass. Cadeau is one of the best in the country at cross-court passes in the half-court because the help is overloaded. He's really good at recognizing where the help is coming from, so that's why these type of passes are open all the time. Here's another great example of that. He's going to hold the defender and get that cross-court pass right there to RJ Davis, one of the best shooters in the nation. Second thing I want to talk about with Cadeau is his go-to move or his go-to setup, whatever you want to call it. What you guys are going to notice is Cadeau's left to right crossover is extremely deadly. It's not as exaggerated as Allen Iverson's crossover, but what Cadeau that makes his so shifty and so hard to guard is the crossover is typically preceded by a bound, which allows him to change speed and change levels at an explosive rate. And when you're as explosive as Cadeau is, this is super deadly. Pretty much anytime he does this, he's going to get to the basket. It's important for you guys to note that the reason the left to right for him is so deadly is because he is a right-handed dominant player, so that means that once the move is over, it's in his dominant hand and he can explode and get to the rim to finish. He also has a variation of this type of move out of a bound where he does a between the legs dribble. That's really good too. Now, this is the point of video where we're going to get really real and it's going to take a turn. Cadeau is great at all the things we talked about before, but his inability to shoot the ball and his lack of confidence that is so visible and it almost screams is extremely alarming, especially when you talk about what today's point guards in the NBA are known for. Let's go back and talk about Elliot Cadeau as a prospect, where he was rated as the number 2 point guard in the country, and when he was class of 2024, he was actually the number 1 point guard in the nation. To me, that means he's supposed to be either the number 1 or number 2 player at his position in his draft class, which when you look at the style of point guard that is dominating today's NBA, that does not match up at all. Honestly, if you guys want me to be really real, and this is just my observation, I think Cadeau hides behind the true point guard or his insane ability to pass or his high IQ, and uses that almost as a reason to not shoot the ball or to feel like he doesn't have to improve his jumper. Let me reword that. I don't think he necessarily doesn't think that he needs to get better at it, or I'm not saying that he doesn't work on it, but it is extremely concerning right now that he's shooting 4 for 25 from the three-point line, which is 16%, and 63% from the free throw line. Now, you tell me what starting caliber point guard in today's NBA is that atrocious at shooting. But it's honestly not just even that he's atrocious at it, it's that his lack of confidence screams. For instance, right here, he's going to catch the ball. The defender doesn't even close out with their hands up, and he has probably 6 to 7 feet worth of space, and as you're going to see right here, doesn't even attempt to shoot the ball. There are countless clips of him just from the Duke game alone, just like this one, getting the Rondo and Ben Simmons treatment, and then when he does finally decide to shoot, it's a clank. Something that I don't think a lot of you players understand, especially when you get to these higher levels of basketball, is the people that are open for a reason. So when we take a look at this play right here, Armando Bacot is double teamed early in his post up. As you can see, he's still in the mid post. So that guy that went to double him is Elliot Cadeau's man, which means that Cadeau's all-American big man Armando Bacot can't do what he does best, which is post up, because Cadeau can't shoot. We're going to see the same thing on this possession right here, as Cadeau's man is getting ready to go double team Armando Bacot once again super early in the post up. Cadeau is wide open right here. When he gets the skip pass, he doesn't even look to shoot it, goes in and throws up a really crazy layup right there. Same thing on this play right here. Cadeau's man is leaving him with 20 feet of space, and when he does get the kick out, he won't shoot the wide open three, goes in and throws up a forced crazy contested layup. Now let me ask you guys this question. Do you think Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, Jokic, Embiid, any of these NBA superstars are going to feel if they're getting a constant double team because their point guard won't shoot the ball and can't shoot the ball? It's not going to work. I don't care what you guys say, not in today's NBA. I even asked one of my mentors in the basketball world who works out high-level college guys and NBA players. I asked him if he thinks Cadeau's an NBA player, and this is word for word what he said. He's a great pass first PG. There's no use for that in the NBA. And he's little. Can't win with little PGs. Trey, Garland, and even CP3, they'll hunt you defensively. That's not from me. That's from a guy who works out NBA dudes for a living. But this is almost the worst part. Listen to what the commentator Jay Billis says about Cadeau and how much you do not have to respect his jump shot, and you tell me if this is what you want your starting NBA point guard to be like.
You just can't leave the floor on a shot fake from Elliot Cadeau.
To me, it's embarrassing and it's sad, especially when we're talking about a guy who is so highly touted coming out of high school. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy for thinking that the number 1 or number 2 point guard in the country should be able to shoot a wide open three-pointer or shoot better than 60% from the free throw line. Let me know if I'm crazy though. But hey, he's got a high IQ, right? Tell that to Kevin Durant when he's getting double teamed every single time he's in the post because his point guard can't shoot. And I'm sorry, but when I read comments like this about Cadeau that say he's gonna end up like DeJuan Harris from Kansas or better, don't get me wrong, DeJuan Harris is great and I love his game, but we're talking about a 4-star prospect who wasn't even in the top 100 compared to a guy who's supposed to be the number 1 or 2 point guards in his draft class. So if you want to just call Cadeau a solid point guard who's going to run his sets and he's going to get his team in the right position and he's going to be a winning player and he's going to be a 4-year college guy, then that's awesome. But let's not have him ranked at the number 1 or 2 point guard in the country, and let's not undervalue the importance of being able to shoot the basketball in today's game. Young hoopers, there's only 2 things in basketball that translate to any level: elite size and elite shooting. Cadeau is 6 foot tall, so he doesn't have elite size, and clearly he can't shoot the ball. When I also see comments that mention how he's playing his role, and that he has 3 elite scores and a bunch of veteran players who he doesn't even really need to score, and he might feel scared to shoot. To me, those are crazy things to say about a 5-star point guard. That sounds like we're talking about a role player who has 0 expectations. I'm sorry, when you're that high ranked, you have expectations. And I don't think being able to shoot the ball when you're a basketball player is that high of an expectation. And this is me being real again. What does him having good players around him have to do with him being a 60% free throw shooter and 4 for 25 from the three-point line? Steph Curry's had pretty good players around him in his career. Damian Lillard's had NBA level players around him in his career. Trae Young's had pretty good players around him in his career. Jamal Murray has pretty good players around him, and all these guys can shoot. Not to mention he was also pulled at the end of the Duke game because he can't make free throws. There is not any world where your starting point guard should be getting pulled at the end of a game because they can't shoot free throws. Think about what we're talking about. These are basic things, fellas. And then not only that, but again, we're talking about the NBA. Much more of a half-court style game, which means you have to be able to shoot. All this transition stuff isn't going to work. The bodies are going to be longer. You're not going to be able to take it in and finish over everybody like he is in college. And he's shooting 42% from the field, so it's not even like he's that great at it anyways. And what people are going to try and do is they're going to try and gaslight, be like, oh, but he's so good at passing. His IQ is so high. It doesn't matter that he can't shoot. You guys know that's not true, and even Elliot Cadeau knows that's not true. You can see that by how insecure insecure he looks whenever he has an open shot and he won't take it. If everything else mattered and it didn't matter if you could shoot, then Ben Simmons would be the best player in the NBA. And clearly he's not, and he's 6'10". Cadeau is 6 foot tall. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Cadeau's a great player, but I see him as a 4-year college guy, not anyone who's going to be able to contribute legitimately into an NBA team. Hopefully I'm wrong though, because I'm a North Carolina fan. But that's where I stand on the issue. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.